Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. As you can see, I've got a double header for everybody, and I'm so excited for this conversation. But before I get to all the questions that I have for you wonderful ladies, would you guys mind doing an introduction for me?
No problem. I'll go first. So I'm Bobbie Shrivastav. I'm a founder and managing principal at Shrivastav Consulting. We're on a mission of building human-centered workflow solutions for life, annuity, and long-term care side of the business. I'm also a co-host of Insurance Sync and a co-author with Renu on the Momentum book.
Wonderful. Your turn.
So my name is Renu. I am the founder and CEO of Luminant Analytics. I am, like Bobbie, a serial entrepreneur. I've been a data scientist for over 2 decades, a decade in insurance. And I am the creator and host of a podcast called The Innovation Odyssey. And Bobbie and I released a book in October. And I'm also raising money for a venture capital fund.
Because neither of you guys have anything going on, I appreciate you taking the time with all of your leisure time to sit down with me for the conversation. So where I want to start the conversation, we'll get more to the book and the collaboration that you guys have released there. But I want to focus on your technology knowledge and the work that you guys are both doing in the insurance industry first. So since Bobbie did the introduction first, Renu, we'll come to you with the first question and switch it up a little bit. But when you take a look at the industry, especially with your data science hat on, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see we're facing in the insurance industry as it applies to technology?
I think that insurers like to look backward and really have troubles looking forward. It's the way the industry is built, and it need not be that because it's one of the most data-rich industries in the world. And that kind of primitive approach to data, I don't know however I should phrase it, has led to really bad underwriting and pricing decisions, which was really the trigger for my own company, which was offering a solution for commercial auto. So I think at the highest level, insurers are still not fully equipped in terms of talent, in terms of technology, in terms of use cases to fully benefit from the data that both rests with them and around them. And that will really prevent the acceleration of growth that they can have, and maybe later, in some parts, even their sustainability.
All right, Miss Bobbie, your turn with the same question.
And thank you, Emma, because, when exactly what Renu talked about, the primitive approach to data. Now, when you think about data and AI, the move to AI, and when you start to look at the different use cases that are coming in the market, and then when you start to peel the onion and look at the workflow solutions, what we're still seeing in the industry, even though there's massive amounts of digitization that is happening, but there's still inefficient manual processing that's really hindering processes. We've got these, now we're adding even more silos and isolated tech stacks. So all of these automations are still fragmented. There's nothing to really unfragment these fragmented pieces. Emma, we've talked in the past about the importance of customer experience. So when we think about user experience, it really starts with how are we going to enable core systems and end user experience when it comes to staff, agents, and other stakeholders. That also includes our end user. So we're still seeing that struggle of providing that beautiful customer experience. And when Renu talks about data, what carriers really are having a struggle with right now is they're having limited real-time insights. Everything is very reactive. So there's a huge opportunity to make things proactive. And because they're in this some of the the big solutions in the market, they're very monolithic. So they lack that flexibility and that lack of configurability, customization side, which leads to high maintenance cost. And sometimes what we're seeing in the industry is compliance risk, because the cost to do some regulatory changes may be in a backlog. So now your compliance risk is high because you're doing manual processing, your operational risk is high. And at the end of the day, we're losing that customer-centric approach. And when I think about what's exciting and where I'm leading towards from a technology perspective, these trends that I talk about, they're not new, right? The current state is not new. They've been in existence. And what's a great opportunity for us right now is still in 2024. It's still an opportunity. And that's what's exciting about insurance right now. Because I think, from my operational lens and, this is my, I'm launching a fourth venture, and I've spent time in insurance. In fact, I've talked to not only just the claim staff, the operation staff, but I've worked with over 25 carriers in our life annuity long-term care side. So I see it, and now I get a chance and opportunity to really solve those bigger problems outside of the one that I just left for.
I'm so glad that you were like zoomed in on while we were talking, but I wish everybody could have seen Renu's like head nodding and like big smiles and like full support of everything you were saying that I get to see on the back end of the recording. And I think
could do it now.
You started to paint a little bit of this picture for us then, Bobbie. So now where I want to go is flip the seats again, come to you, Bobbie, first, and talk a little bit about, okay, so now we recognize that this primitive data approach and these fragmented workflows are big, big challenges for us. Now let's talk about, like, let's paint that future. What do we get to see in 2024 and beyond when we start to actually address these problems?
And Emma, this is where I'm excited, right? So what, my goal would be, how do we create a human-enabled solution? Because the tech is already there. The AI is already there, right? The AI is going to power the efficiency, the data integrations will provide the insights. But honestly, it's this human-centered design to workflow. And that's what I'm very excited about. And the goal that by doing that, we get to not just innovate and integrate seamlessly with existing legacy systems. Now we can really, truly offer a pathway to dismantle legacy, because a lot of solutions are coming in to say, I'm going to be a wrapper. And eventually, even we are starting off to say, we're going to be a wrapper. But the ultimate goal is we're dismantling your legacy and you don't even know about it, right? Like that's the ultimate goal. And if we can start looking at workflow-driven innovation, what we will find is not only can we make our solution configurable and scalable and enhance the decision-making, but we've got that DEI commitment. A lot of people talk about, DEI as an HR thing. We're bringing that to the forefront from a technology perspective, because if you're really thinking about DEI, your solution should be accessible, it should be usable for a diverse workforce. And that's what we're really trying to create, is how do we create purpose-driven impact, not only for your customers, but for your staff. And when we think about the future of workflows, but that DEI commitment is at the fabric, just like AI is the fabric, because if we build good solutions, you shouldn't have to worry about, is it accessible? Am I going to be compliant with the ADA laws, or et cetera, et cetera?
All right. So then now how on the data side, we've got the solutions that are coming, but as Bobbie said earlier, we need the data to fuel those things. So can you help paint that picture for us, Renu?
I think that one of the biggest challenges that prevents insurers from getting the act together on data is actually finding the right kind of talent. And this is, I cannot, it's overemphasize the importance of that, because they think, many insurers think they have it. They don't. And especially if you look at a line like commercial auto, which has been bleeding for 10 plus years straight, you can't tell me you have it. You don't. And commercial auto, or anything that runs on the roads, is one of the lines of business where there is the best data available. And if you haven't been able to get your act together for that line of business, it just means you don't have a grip on data. So I think that it would be good to accept the fact that you have to do better when it comes to data. Second, you have to really think about, what do you want your data, internal data task force to look like? 10 years ago, so I used to work for Swiss Re, and so 10 years ago, the trend was to build huge data science teams. And for a data scientist, their job is to deploy their tools. They don't necessarily care about the business. I had the role as a translator between data science business and the C-suite. So I saw data from a very different angle. I would always say, get those translators into your companies who want to understand your business, also understand data. So get in that, and that workforce has to be vibrant, because the technologies that use data are changing. So you don't want someone who has a skill set 10 years ago, you want to have them current. That means that insurance has to up its recruiting skills. How many of us wake up and say, I want to be in insurance? Not many. So you've got to make it sexy. And that means that actually comes back to what Bobbie is saying, of keeping the customer front and center, both internally and externally. So that's a little bit, that is on the culture side. The other thing that you also see is the insurers have legacy systems. And when there are legacy systems, you can't use anything with the data. So when you plan your systems, when there's an acquisition, please think about how you want to integrate these different data sources coming together so that you can make better decisions. So there has to be a lot of, I would say, make your chief data officer a standard role in all organizations, because when you allocate a head count to something is expected out of them, and things kind of work. So mindful allocation to data resources, conversations around data, and actually doing things with data.
Okay, so now thank you both for helping paint the picture of what the future looks like. But now it's time to talk a little bit about this and a little bit about the recent project that you guys just brought into the world. And I'm going to just keep all of us on the screen here so that you guys can kind of share a little bit more about what you'd like everybody to know about the book. Besides, of course, go get it, and I'll include a link to do so.
Yeah, Emma, this was a passion project, right? It's oftentimes, and you know this, right? When Renu and I started our InsurTech journey in 2018, that's how we met. We were the only two women pitching our solutions in the boardroom, then at InsurTech Hartford, then at other areas. And we started slowly getting more and more female founders, but we're hidden. It wasn't the same climate as it is now. And even now, when we think about the event space and how the representation of speakers, everything is pay to play. Everything is pay to play. And how do we get more voices that are really good out there? And that was the mission, is how do we amplify voices? How do we celebrate success? How do we pave this path that for other women that want to become entrepreneurs, young girls, we wanted to share that there's others like you. And we're here. And we've got 10 others that we highlighted in this book. And I'm so happy to have Renu, because our collaboration efforts, we were just in that vibe. Everybody's like so surprised we got this done, but we wrote it. We got it done in 8 months. We're going to work on our second series coming soon, but When you have big goals and when you find the right collaborator, you can get into that rhythm of focus and getting things done.
When Bobbie told me that she wanted to do this, I actually there isn't anyone else I would do it with. Because you have to be a founder. You have to go through a certain level of experiences to know what it means to have your story out there. And I think that if you see the founders on the book, you can see how diverse they are. But that's us.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that we have on speed dials, on WhatsApp. This is our network. So when we made the collage and I looked at it and I wrote Bobbie, look at this. And she said, well, what else do you expect? So what the book is really, I say that in group, a manifestation of our collective energies as women founders. We've learned to rely on each other and our male counterparts too. And this is in many ways a tribute to innovation. And we all have podcasts. We are all very vocal in the LinkedIn world, but the power of a book, incredible. And I love this story. I was getting off at JFK to come for the the book release, and I talked to the agent, and she looked at my passport. She said, "What are you doing here?" Because I'm an American and I came from Switzerland. She's like, I said, "I'm coming from a book release," and she says, "What is your book about?" And then she writes down the name of the book.
How wonderful!
So it's like if I had a podcast, probably she would have just listened to me. It was a book. It was something you could grab onto. So I think the power to leave an everlasting impression, that's something a book can do. And that's what we also want to do.
Well, thank you both for sharing a little bit more about your passion behind the project and, of course, your passion and vision for what the future of insurance technology looks like with all of us. And thank you, everybody, for watching. If you're not already, make sure that you get connected with and start following both of these wonderful leaders and reach out to any of us if you have any questions. But thank you both and have a wonderful day, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. If you like what you saw, be sure to come back on a weekly basis and subscribe for more expert interviews focused on digital transformation, change management, and emerging technologies.